Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today I have a case project. So what is case? Case is copy and share everything, or copy and... no, what's the other one? Copy and... I can't remember. That's sad anyway. Right, so let's go with copy and share everything. What I have cased is a card from the catalogue, because there are all these lovely projects in the catalogue that you can copy. So why wouldn't you? So I have used the Bouquet the Bouquet Blooms bundle. Do remember that if you see this and this, you get 10% off if you use this code here. So you get 10% off the dies and the stamps, but don't use the separate code for the dies and the stamps. You have to use the bundle code, and that gets you 10% off. And it gets you 10% off both the stamp set and the dies. So if you want these, please, please, please do not buy them separately. Buy them together and save yourself some money. You can do that just by clicking on the social media link in the description bar below. And that will take you to a link which will have all sorts of, my Pinterest, my Instagram account, etc., and my shop account. Alternatively, you can hop over to my blog post, which will have all the information about this project, and there's a shop link there. So please, if you want to buy this, it would be great if you would like to buy through me. And if you use the Hostess code, you also get a share in the Hostess rewards. So here we go, the Bouquet Blooms stamp set and the matching dies, which obviously would be easier to see if they were the right way up. Now, some of these have got little tick marks on them. So here and here and here, we've got little, and here, there are little tick marks, and that's so that you know which way to match up your stamps, because on the corresponding stamps, this is probably the easiest one to see it on. So this stamp, which does the two little flowers, has got this little mark here, whoops, and that means that when you've stamped it, you line it up, you line the die up in the same direction. So you take the die and you line it up over the stamped image and feed it through your big shot that way, and it's a double die, so you stamp once, cut once, which is brilliant. Now, I have used almost every stamp in this set for this particular project. I have done a lot of the stamping in advance because there is quite a lot of stamping and it's all different colours, which means there's also lots of die cutting, and frankly, I don't enjoy watching people just crank stuff through a big shot. So I work on the premise you don't either. So let's look at the basic card. I'm changing it up slightly. I'm using Pool Party this time. This was soft seafoam. The first thing I'm going to do is with the decorative ribbon border punch, which was in the last catalogue and has carried over. I am just going to, with my usual size mat, all the dimensions will be over on my blog, but just with one of my usual size mats, I'm going to create the border. And what you do is so I normally go into the middle, just by eye, punch once, and then can you see there are these silver marks on the punch? So you then take your piece that you've already punched and just line up so you can see the silver through. So you don't want it like that, where you go and you see the grey. You want to line it up like that and punch like that, which you really should do it down. So I'm going to be doing it down, because otherwise it's going to go everywhere. And then down this way, again, I'm just going to line that up and punch. Now, I don't need the whole strip, so I'm not going to bother cutting the whole strip. Let's just get rid of that lot into my little bin. And grab my trimmer, because the next thing to do is to trim everything down so that we have a smaller piece of card. So let's start off just by releasing that. And I should say, this is a coffee and card project because I'm using my lovely, can't really tip it too far, Stampin' Up mug, which I got when I was on stage in November last year, I want to say. So I'm just going to straighten that edge out because it's a little crooked. So just straighten that, and then, so I'm now at, what, 3 1/4-ish. Let's actually cut it at 3 1/4, and then it will make it easier for when I do the measurements for my blog. And so I have taken off, my normal measurement is 3 7/8, so I've taken off, oh dear, it's too early in the morning, 7/8 down to 3 1/4. I've taken off 1 to 3/8 of an inch. That would be about right, wouldn't it? Oh no, it looks more like 1/2 inch. I'm going to say I've taken off 1/2 inch. So if I pop it on top of here, yeah, no, that's about right. So I'm going to take 3/4 of an inch, I think. No, yes, 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. So this is going to be 4 7/8. And hopefully, you can see I wrote all this down, can't you? Yeah, that's about right. It's a little smaller, but that's the whole point. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. So the next thing I'm going to do is just chop these ends off. Just make sure it is the right length. Yep, that's perfect. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? So if I chop those ends off, I'm just going to add some glue to this, and then I'm going to put the whole thing on the back. So I just want this little scalloped edge to show. So I'm just going to, actually I'll add the glue to my card. It'd be nice if my glue would actually run, of course. There we go. You don't need a huge amount. This is good old multi-purpose liquid glue. It is incredibly strong. It dries quickly, but not so quickly that you don't have time to move things about. So I'll just pop that down first, and then I can turn it over and just adjust it so that I've got just that little scallop edge showing, and it's just a little something something, and then just trim the ends off, have a piece flying. I'm just going to make sure that that trims nicely because I don't want just a funny little bit sticking up. So that's good. Those bits are sort of scrap. I might hang on to that. Right, okay, so stamping. I've only got one thing I still need to stamp. This is just a scrap of Whisper White cardstock, and I am going to take my, let's see, what shall I use? I think I might still use my lemon lime twist. There is, if it's going to be, yes, it will work. Good. So I did Friends last time. This time I'm going to do Happy for You, as much as anything, because we've got some friends who have recently moved house. They've been, yeah, that'll fit. They have been trying to move house for a very long time. They've finally managed to A, sell where they are, and B, find where they want to be. So we are happy for them. So it seems like a sensible card to make. Right, and of course I've got my lovely simple chamois, which is not actually dirty, it's just stained, and it does a really nice job of cleaning your stamps. To clean it, and I mean, you know, get the ink out rather than clean, just run it under some cool water. You don't want it hot, 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 but equally it comes out better if it's slightly warm. So that is the stamping that I have done. What I'm also going to just show you is, of course I haven't got the scrap that I thought I had. Never mind, I can show you on a scrap of Whisper White. So for the leaves here, I've used this huge stamp, well, I say huge, large stamp, but I've only inked up part. I've got cat hair everywhere as usual. I've only inked up part of it and then used the big die to die cut it. So let us pretend that this is lemon lime twist. because although I thought I had a scrap, it's disappeared. So all I've done is ink up the top and then stamp and then run that through the Big Shot using, let me grab it, just using that die. So I then end up with these pieces, and I'll trim those down and you'll see me do that in a moment. So all we have to do now is make the card. So let's clean that stamp off while I've got it there. Here's an admission. So I did some filming earlier this week, and by earlier this week I mean 3 or 4 days ago, and I left the stamps to clean after I'd finished filming. Yeah, that was about 3 days later that I finally remembered to do it, but the simple chamois got them clean. Right, okay, so I need a scrap of paper because I've told you we've done all the stamping. We haven't. We've still got some stamping to do. So I need Pool Party, which I did get out. Here it is. And one of the other stamps, which I carefully then put to one side. And this is just the little leaf. And all I'm going to do is just stamp round the edge. Now, here's the thing. So this isn't the clearest stamp in the world. It's bubbled a bit. That's because this is a new stamp, and although I've used it a few times, not a lot. So I just, to get it sort of conditioned, ready for stamping this time, rub it on the back of your hand, and it just gives a key. So let's see if you can see the difference. Can you see the difference? So this one bubbled a bit, and this is the old style ink, so it doesn't have the defoamer. So that one bubbled a bit. This one's beautifully clear, and that's just rub it on the back of your hand. Use a white rubber. That will do it too. So one of these white rubbers, that will just give it enough key to stamp cleanly, and then you can just add your stamping. Preferably if you've inked it properly, that always helps. And just come round to the edge and go in all directions. And it's just to add some texture to the background. I'm not fussed about this bit here, it's going to be covered up. She says, hopefully. Yes, it's going to be covered up. So I'm not too worried if it's a bit of a mess on the inside. Obviously the bits that are going to be seen, I want to have, can you see where I am? Yes, you can. So I am hoping, don't hold me to this, I'm hoping to be able to start doing some reasonably regular Facebook Lives. I do them irregularly in my team Facebook page because I have team spread almost literally to the 4 winds. I've got some up near Glasgow. I've got someone in Essex. I've got people in the local area, but I've also got people in Surrey. So the easiest way to make sure that everybody knows what's going on is to do Facebook Lives. I still do team meetings as well, but it is just easier to do regular catch-ups on Facebook Live, but I want to be able to do those for you guys as well. And what I can then do is, if I can work out how to do it, and I am sometimes technically challenged, post the video here. So if you miss it on Facebook, you will find it on, just looking for a block, there we are, you will find it on YouTube. So, or both, indeed. Right. So this is the big circle, which I'm just going to use to add to the background. Possibly wasn't the most sensible thing to add that banner behind, because that's now going to give me a ridge, but I'm sure we'll manage. So again, Pool Party ink, I'm going for the tone on tone. And towards the top, but not totally at the top. Just press that down, close up my lid whilst that's going on. Hurrah! Right, okay, so that should be pretty much all the stamping. So now let's make the card. Get rid of my scrap paper because I don't need it anymore. Take a slug of my coffee, which is beginning to look cold. Oh. Not as warm as I normally like it, but it's fine. Right, okay. So to build up our card, the first thing I want to do is to flag the end of this. Now, one of the girls at our team event this weekend reminded me that the is this truly tailored tag? Tailored tag? You know me, why would I ever check these things in advance? This is why I label everything, because otherwise I can't remember. Let's find the punches. And I've got to label my this. What's this? This is my, oh dear, catalogue. It's the tailored tag. That carried over from the spring-summer catalogue. So, to get a nice flag end, just pop it in your tailored tag. So find where your stamping is, line it up sort of in the middle, and punch. And there you've got a nice flag. Isn't that clever? So thank you, Baz, for that. And that was her little tip. So that's the first thing that I'm going to stick down because I want that sort of there. So just using a little bit of multi-purpose glue. Now that we don't have fast fuse, and I know that there were some people who loved it and some people who hated it. I was a lover, but I can accept that some people had issues with it. So we didn't sell very much, and if we don't sell very much, we're not going to stock it. So now I think my favourite adhesive will be multi-purpose glue. So I'm just trimming, so I've just got the leaves. So these were the ones that I did before we came on camera, because I only want the leaf bits to show, so I don't need those bits. And then I've got slightly more flowers than the previous one, so I'm just going to place everything a bit so that I can then layer up. So I'm going to use this Blushing Bride. If I had a brain, I would be dangerous, as my sort of background, if you like. So everything else is going to go on top. So I'm just going to, now you could use mini glue dots if you would rather. They are a nice adhesive to use, particularly for smaller items. But multi-purpose glue is good. You just need to remember you do not need a lot. If you use a lot, you'll hate it. If you use a lot, it won't stick properly for a long time and you will grow to hate it. If you use a small amount, you will like it. So, guess what? Use a small amount. It's much more cost effective that way for a start. But you don't need a lot. So I'm going to pop that just to one side there. Then I think I'll pop this, yeah, maybe there. Yes. And again, I'm going to use liquid glue. And it's my colour choice. It was what scraps I had on my craft desk. Simple as that. There are moments when you just go with the flow. So I had scraps of Flirty Flamingo, Blushing Bride, Lemon Lime Twist, So Saffron and Whisper White, and I just went with it. So apart from the Whisper White, everything is tone on tone. So I've used the corresponding ink. And then for the Whisper White, obviously I used Lemon Lime Twist for the sentiment, and for these little flowers I used Melon Mambo, just so that we had a bit of a pop. Because although I like this, and I love the fact that it's soft colours, I would prefer it, good grief, we're on nearly 20 minutes, I would prefer it with a little pop of colour. So I've got a pop of colour. So let's pop that there, and this down there, and then this will not be a cheap card to post because we are using lots of dimensionals and I've got more to use, so you know, this may be one to hand deliver or just accept that it's going to be a large letter if you're in the UK. Right, okay, so we are nearly there. The only other thing I need to add to the front of my card is using some white baker's twine, and if it's on a card, what I do is I take my bone folder and I get those kinks out because I don't like kinks in my baker's twine. Then double bunny ears to make a bow, and I want this to have reasonably long tails. I mean, not mad, but reasonably long. And then I'll trim it finally when it's on the card. I want a glue dot, which I have folded in half, and I'm just going to pop that there. Oops. And then pop my ribbon on my baker's twine on top. Just get that nicely bedded in. Then some dimensionals on the back. Oops, slightly fewer than that, I think. Pop those back. And then for speed, they do come off really easily with just your fingernails, but they come off even quicker with a piercing tool. Pop that on the outside of our card. Ooh, that's got a kink. Hasn't any more. Trim our ends, and we are done. Phew! Somewhat longer than I had hoped, but there we go. Anyway, case the catalogue, guys. It's a really good way of getting some inspiration. So that's the version that I made. This is the version that Stampin' Up made. They used, I think, crumb cake, but again, just some little scraps, and they're the same but different. So give that a go. If you enjoyed that, give it a thumbs up. If you would like to subscribe, it's about there. Pop over to my blog to see all the details and close-up photographs, information about what I used, stuff about shopping. The hostess code is there, although it's below as well, and also about joining my team. So if you'd like to be part of the Stampin' Up family, and my team in particular, then join up. And there's information about that over on my blog as well. Thanks a lot for joining me again today. Bye!